morning, everyone. I guess because it's Saturday, Misty will text me and she'll say, it's going to be a great day. And we have that choice every day, don't we?
Yes.
That we control this, and it can be a great day, and it is a great day. And I'm excited to come up here and talk about something that I've talked about for decades now, and that's the Mower mission, which grows and grows and grows. You are definitely the heart of the Mower mission. It was started by my father and myself years ago, and it's developed into much more. This morning, I started with brewing a pot at Sisel Cafe at 6 a.m. and I went down, did a few chores, checked on some livestock, went down to the barn. It's just a barn now. You guys aren't there. So I'm excited for next year. We bring that enthusiasm back because you bring it to life. Because this business is built on leadership. Doesn't matter how great the products, doesn't matter how great the compensation. The mission is fueled by the leaders in the field who trust, who build, who duplicate, and who share the message we have. There's so many options in this industry. And right across the street, there's one that pays about 50-60% what we pay. They're in a decline. We're in a growth for a reason. We have a very compelling mission and message that it doesn't matter if you speak Japanese, if you speak Kiwi English, or Pennsylvania Dutch. It doesn't matter because the mission brings us all together, doesn't it? It's all about maximizing opportunity and who we are. And today, holy cow, we got products. We got products that are going to change your life. Going to change thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives around the world. And we're going to talk about those today. Things that I've been experimenting with for the last 2 or 3 years. And we're going to have some results. We're going to have some testimonies. And many people here in the audience have been trying these products. But first today, we're going to get retro. We're going to get back. We're going to talk about the mission and how it all started. So, you recognize that face? In fact, Denise told me she has a picture of me on her refrigerator so that it will encourage her for weight loss. And I thought, if that doesn't make you nauseated every morning, make you skip a meal, I don't know what would. So, good job, Denise. So here's a few pictures. How many people here have met Tom Mower Sr.? Okay. I think we're to the point where it's maybe half of the people. That's sad. But how many people here are part of the Mower mission? Everybody in this room is. So you all know Tom Sr. and share in his mission. He was a very, very, very unique person. He was an individual from, even when he was a child, had extraordinary abilities right here. To think all things were possible. To know that everything we wanted in life, we could accomplish. If you were at the Elite Dinner last night, interesting listening to Scott Mitchell, he talked about our subconscious. And he talked about don't let it rule the day. Because they have a little voice in there that says, ooh, maybe you're going to fail. Ooh, maybe you can't do it. So even though up front we're like, we're going to do it, back here, oh, what happens if I fail? Failure's part of success. And that was the one thing Tom Sr., boy, I'll tell you what, I had the best childhood because I had him as a mentor in my life. It was just, where do you want to put your time? What do you want to accomplish? You can't do it all. So pick a horse and ride it because you'll accomplish it if you stay focused. So if you see the pictures up in the far left corner, there's of course our world-class manufacturing that we have. And but you see the picture next to it, Thomas and I are standing in front. That's where it all started. That was on our 75-acre farm that we had down in Sanpete County, and that's where Dad said, we're going to formulate products that the world's never seen before. And that was with industrial chemicals. And that was really the first segment of the Mower mission. And that was make something that's not in the market that improves our lives. At that point, it was about chemistry, and it was about making floor waxes that didn't turn yellow, that stayed glossier longer, windows that didn't streak, dish soaps that clean better, garage floor degreasers. And pretty soon, from that, we built it to one of the very largest companies in our region. But it all started right here with Tom Sr. knowing I can do it. There wasn't power, there wasn't water, there wasn't heat, there wasn't anything in that building. We hauled it all from the house about a quarter mile away in an old 68 Ford. And we blended everything there, and pretty soon we moved forward. Since that time, we've had many manufacturing facilities along the way. Each one bigger, each one more technologically more advanced, to where we have this now. At one point, we had a beautiful facility in Avondale, New Zealand. And I loved it. I'd go down there and I would stay for 4 to 6 weeks at a time and talk about chemistry and with the people that we had down there. The one thing they had that I didn't have, they had Kiwi ingenuity. And boy, if you know what that is, it's scary. Because when you think you're on this island, isolated from the world, and you don't have the resources, somehow they figure it out. They know somebody. They'll make sure that it happens. And so over the years, you can see a picture of Dad up there in the top left-hand corner when he was in high school. Back at the time, he had the highest score for one of the highest scores in the nation for science. But it was a unique blend of a great salesman and a great analytical salesman. Those two are usually really opposed to each other. One's emotional, one's logical, but he was a great blend of both of those. Below that, there's a picture of my grandfather, the first Tom, my father, the second Tom, me, the third Tom, and then I'm holding Thomas, who you saw up here. I don't think I could hold him now, but when he was just a baby, and now he has a son, Tom. Why is that important? It's multi-generational. And so that 6-year-old boy you saw that couldn't get out of that goat pen roping him, what he doesn't realize is that's where it all starts. Rope those goats, have fun, but network, meet people. And that's really how we spread the mission, is we talk about it, but we show it. And so Tom Sr. was a master of that, and he showed me that the power of duplication is, number one, having a great message, but you want people to want to join you. Yeah. The people across the street, I remember back in the day with New Skin, it was always fear of loss was the motivator. You send in the letter, and you pledge you're going to do 10,000 in volume, or guess what? It's a stair-step breakaway. All your leaders are passing you. You're no longer getting paid on it. That's not motivational. Number one, they're paying a little over half the commissions, but it was fear of loss, not with us. That was one of the biggest things that Tom Sr. said when we got into network marketing. I will let people for 100 years build it dollar upon dollar to live their dream at the speed they want to live it. We want people to want to join us, not to be terrified to leave us. And so that's why we continue to have growth where other billion-dollar companies every year go to a new low, but we keep going ahead. So multi-generational, you can see our boys here. Why is that important? What do we celebrate this year at Sisel?
20 years.
20 years. That's remarkable. In this industry, 95% of companies in the first year are gone. 3 years later, those that survive, 90% of those are gone. But one of the biggest motivators in this industry, why people join it, is it's new, it's exciting. You know, it's like buying that new shirt, getting a new pair of boots. Well, the newness wears off. You know, after a few weeks of this, that, and the other, it's like, okay. But guess what? A foundation that is built on a rock lasts, doesn't it? Our mission is unequal because it is designed with people being first. We want better health. We want better compensation. We want to live our dreams. We want to generate wealth. We want to generate health. We want to help people. We want to help the environment. And over the years, the Mower mission has developed into many different facets. In fact, I was telling Misty the other day, I'm talking about the Mower mission. Like Dad always said, you gotta have it down cold and you gotta serve it up hot, right? You gotta know what you're talking about and you gotta make it exciting. The Mower mission is more exciting today than it ever was, because we're gonna talk about products today that, I'll tell you what, when you leave here, you'll know why you're a man, you'll know why you're a woman, and you'll have products that will help you remember that and feel that. Yeah. We didn't do a lot with what we did with women's health before. We're going to talk about that today. But we're developing products, horse products, canine products, products for longevity. I remember when Dad first in the 80s became interested in longevity. You got to remember, going back before the internet and all the advancements on, cable networks and all the resources we have now, it was letters, it was phone calls, it was meetings. Somebody's going to be in town, and boy, would he do it. In fact, I remember so of course he was a million miler on Delta. And one time when he would get on a plane, he literally had volumes of magazines about chemistry, about products, about longevity. And he would sit there as he was flying to Russia, Ukraine, New Zealand, wherever, and go through them. And he had all these drawers in his office with ideas. And then he would put those articles in those drawers. Some he never touched again, but all of a sudden he'd say, oh, gray hair. Oh, weight loss. Oh, I remember that. Because there wasn't a computer system, but he would file all, kind of like the old Dewey Decimal System, and he'd have the topics he was interested in, and he would do that. Well, anyway, he was on Delta, and it looked like somebody had set a hand grenade off on the floor where he was sitting. There were papers everywhere, and they literally put them all in a box and shipped them back to him because they thought they were important. Well, he had cut out the parts that were important to him. And the rest was just rubbish, that could go out to the garbage pile. But everywhere he went, he was like that, because he had an insatiable appetite for knowledge and a desire to accomplish everything. And that is something that a leader must have, is focus and desire. Now, why do I have this up here? One advantage I have of being old is I see what motivates people over the years. And a few things that we have up here that I've noticed, people like to be where there's experienced management. They're always nervous, when, some person without experience is trying to tell them how to become successful. Well, we're blessed at Sisel that we have a very, very experienced management team who have decades, there's hundreds of years of experience in the fields that they have been in our industry. But with the Mower mission, unlike a lot of our neighbors in this industry here, they got to feel it. They got to be part of it. And so that's why I don't hire a company to come in and do Mower Mountain. No, like Thomas said, you're going to party like we party. I think we rolled one ATV. I think we ran over one employee. Things happen. That's what family's about, right? Rub some dirt on it, get up, and get going. And that's the way I was raised. So when you party with us, be glad if you can walk to go home. Because things happen. Sometimes you might get a fish hook in the side of your face, you might get kicked by a horse, but we always have fun doing it. And so these are a lot of the foundational things that when people look at us, first they say, okay, you're 20 years old. What does that mean? It means that we're built on a rock. And unlike our competition, we're growing. We have world-class manufacturing. You saw that yesterday. It's something, yeah. what is faith? The belief in things that we have not seen, right? And there's things that we have faith on, we have to have faith in. But I'll tell you what, when we have a firm knowledge, when you're there and you're watching SpectraMax go through, it's like, guess what? They do the research, they do the manufacturing. That's why it's a better product. That's why there's more compensation with that. So it's a very promising and secure future. So when someone says, oh yeah, they've been around there. Yeah, they've been around, but guess what? They're just coming of age. That's why they continue to grow. We're going to expand internationally this year more than we ever have. Generous compensation plan. I've touched basically on that. I've seen them all come and go. The stair-step breakaways and all of the binaries and all the, the chain letter type schemes. And they are schemes. This is real compensation. In a nutshell, all we're doing is, do you want to go to the local store and buy a shampoo and let them make all the profit? 90% of that all goes into advertising. No. We want to make a better product, and we want to compensate the people who don't want sulfates, who don't want parabens, who don't want dioxin, don't want BPA, don't want these hormone disruptors and things that promote cancer. We're going to give you a better option, and we're going to reward the people who are out there talking about those products. Toxin free. This is really what started the Mower mission. Because as we evolved from industrial chemicals, we did that because, we didn't know. We didn't know what we were building could be detrimental to our health. Because at that point in the world, we didn't disclose what would happen if we were in contact with things, dermatitis and cancer rates and hair loss and reproductive problems. All these things were associated with the common products we had. And you've all heard the story. In fact, Lisa's told it many times. And, she was blown away as a kid. The dad was throwing everything away in the house. I was elated. We didn't have to take baths anymore, I thought. But once again, he said, no, we'll make it safer. And guess what? We didn't do it for the world. But guess what? The world wanted it. And that drove an entire mission and started that. Since that time, the Mower mission has got involved in, we've done everything from putting those beautiful mountains by Tom's home. And guess what? He funded the transplant of Rocky Mountain bighorns on it. Utah is the #1 state in the country for habitat restoration. Well, guess who put the very first $1 million check in for that? Tom Mower Sr. He did $2.5 million because he wanted to get rid of invasive species. He wanted to create habitat. And so he was very fundamentalist in a big wildlife movement to restore what used to be here. So he wants to restore our good health. He wants to restore the environment, but yet he wants to eliminate those things that send us down the wrong path. And that's what the Mower mission is. So Sisel Steak really started by removing that because it's an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Let's keep our good health. I mean, we're going to get old, let's face it. But it's not the years, it's the miles, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I feel better now at 63 than I did at 53 because I'm on a continuous journey because my body's getting older, absolutely, but my mind's getting better. My research is getting better. I'm getting more fine-tuned. And guess what? I am better because I believed what scientists had told me that genetically I should live to be 120 or 150. I want the health to accomplish that. Doesn't mean that an employee's not going to back over me at Mower Mountain or flip an ATV on me. Those things happen, But if I have the potential, if I do what's right, and a little bit of luck on the way, I don't get kicked by a horse, that I can do it, but I'm going to ride horses. Because like Tom Sr. always said, life is for the living. Sisel Safe is a foundational concept. It is why we grow. but it is multifaceted. It's like legs of an octopus. And we get more legs all the time. And you're going to see it continue to grow. We've got the fifth Tom. What's he going to be up here in 20, 30 years doing? Well, guess what? I'll be here to watch him.
Right.
And I'm going to make the products that I can do that. Here is just a real quick snapshot of some of the things over the years of the Mower mission. And I'm at a bad angle to read it, but you can read through those and see advancements in products. When we discovered so many things about harmful ingredients. And guess what? At the very end, we're excited about going to Tampa and promoting more and bringing more international opportunity. The exciting part about where we're at today is what Thomas is doing right now in shipping and developing global catalogs and all the things. We're going to talk about a lot of these things in Tampa, to where if you know somebody out there in the world, we're going to have so much more opportunity to do that. And we're going to go down to Australia next month and to New Zealand. And I think I'm going to be there in November. And we're going to blow that open. We're going to start going throughout Asia. Japan over the last year. Holy cow. You want to talk about Japan with our former company was by far the biggest. And guess what? They're growing faster than any other market right now. The EU's growing. So when we talk about inflation and all this, we're not seeing it with Sisel because we have a message that resonates with everybody. It has for 20 years. Are there hiccups along the way? Absolutely. But it's kind of like the stock market. Over time, it just goes up. I remember when the S&P hit 5,000. Holy God. Well, now we're always right around the 7,500 mark. Over time, it just continues to grow. Because our message is true, our message is impactful, and it's designed around health, wealth, and happiness. Like Tom Senior always said, if you're not having fun in life,
You are doing wrong.
you're doing it wrong. I'm having a great time. People ask me when are you going to retire. I retired 30 years ago because I like what I do. I enjoy every day. Going down to the barn this morning, drinking Sisel Cafe, watching a beautiful sunrise, thinking about all the friends I have here that I'm going to talk about something we have in common. Making the world better and safer and providing a business opportunity that does not have a cap. How high is high? I don't know. Never have I seen a company where you could not set a budget that does not start with the sales forecast. I did that because I was in operations and everything to our companies, and I'd always tell Dad, we got to have a sales forecast to set a budget. We never could. He said, I don't know how high is. I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to blow it up. We're going to grow. I never could set one. So we never could have a budget because he would not set a cap. I'm going to predict 8% growth here, 12%. Oh no. How high is high? I don't know. So just jump on the wagon and hold on tight because we're going to ride hard. And that's the way he was. Now,